Sup everybody, this is Karak from ACG, the bearded shaman of gaming, always bringing you game reviews at the speed of embargo. What's on the list today? Well, how about a heapin' helping of deep dive and discovery? It's Abzu, a swimming simulator, which is a bit like a walking simulator, except this time you're swimming, thus the handy genre nomenclature. But what's it all about, you may ask? Well, basically it's a game where you take on the body of an unnamed adventurer, plying the seas of an unknown location, resupplying the ocean's fishing trade, while occasionally getting the shit shocked out of you by the bad guys from Stargate. Created by the designers of titles such as Flow and Flower, Abzu comes out on August 2nd for the PS4 and PC. So let's see if Abzu holds up to the luminary standards in which it's already being judged, titles like Flower and Journey, where when someone asks you what they're all about, you usually answer in what sounds like something the Riddler would say. As always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's the review for Abzu. Celestial air dolphins, channeling Disney Fantasia whale dance moments, and possibly the only time you're ever going to hear a GTX 1080 say, okay, that's enough fish, thank you. Graphics are up first. The one thing I have to say about Abzu is that this is a collection of color and controlled chaos more so than I think any game, past or prior, has ever been. And I know those are strong words, but as I sit here and I think about my time with Abzu, I have to say that rarely is there an almost childlike revelry for color and movement like there is in this title. Whether you're holding on for dear life as a marlin flits through the shoal of a school of fish, all patterned independently and upon their own paths, or diving into darkness next to a massive coordinated bomber attack of whales as they hunt squid, if there's one thing Abzu does, it is the excellent use of color and movement. Really, the easiest graphical comparison I can make is remember that scene in the made-for-TV movie Matrix 3 where all the squiddies, which are those metal monsters, attack the city Zion in unbelievable numbers? Imagine that, but infinitely cooler looking here and with about 100% less stupid dance parties. The use of colored filters as well for various areas also lends this really lingering feeling of passing through the seasons as I pass through areas that could be representative of spring, summer, fall, and winter, and all had their provided places. Now, just like prior titles somewhat like this, games that mimic a movement humans are inherently incapable of doing themselves without mechanical aspects has to really nail that unearthly feeling of movement but still be connected well enough to the player to feel organic. Pilot Wings did as well as it could back in the day with that, and in many ways Nights into Dreams did it, though it was stuck on a particular plane. And here, Abzu does it as well, giving you a childlike feeling of movement, a mixture of flying and swimming that is absolutely incredible to feel and experience. Now, you know games like these are the best arguments that games are art, a sedate trip through a layered graphical impression without stopping for death, but instead like a movie or let's say a book, experiencing it one page or one scene after the other and hopefully coming away moved in some way. And I think each game that does this does it in different ways. Here, not by the pure technical chops, though they're pretty impressive, but by the artistic use of color and motion and world space that creates this unique set piece that is highly, highly enjoyable to explore. Now, sadly, not all is well here. While no game coming out currently should run perfect with every option cranked on the best cards, that's why it's called future-proofing, it's the delta between the current high-end card and what you would need to get a perfect frame rate and frame time in the future that matters. And so here we see that even on the GTX 1080 at 1440p with all the settings on Ultra, the game consistently dipped to 40 frames per second and not shockingly was completely contingent on resolution. This is expected when some areas throw a small Alaskan fishery worth of aquatic life at your face and you're chunneling through natural salmon runs at break fin speed, but some may look at it and wonder where some of that power is actually going. Personally for me, while the main character isn't the cleanest of design choices, the overall worldview is absolutely hypnotic, and it's easily one of, if not the prettiest game in 2016. I mean, when we look at some of these games where let's say Uncharted is bombastic with characters modeled from real people and actions based on Michael Bay's wet damn dreams, Abzu is a color-coordinated frenzy, and it's quite close to understanding just how someone like Jacques Cousteau may have felt when he looked at the sea. The best thing about this year, with games like Headlander, Abzu, and many others, lots of devs have learned that the RGB spectrum is more than just Gears brown. Sound, music, and voice. And of course, sound is up first. It's excellent. It's a frequently moving and soothing blanket of low-ebb sound in which your actions intrude the bubbling, muffled sound of water that's, let's say, interrupted by whale song or dolphin calls and the snap of a shark's bite across a fish's path of life ending. And even the mechanical whirl of your on-again, off-again scuba diving mechanical friends has its own tonal resonance. Sonically, it's really incredibly difficult to translate some sounds underwater, as the medium is really so impactful on the natural sounds themselves. But the fact is that it's done here perfectly, and it reminded me forcibly of movies like The Abyss and others that have filmed many of their sounds underwater to get a natural overall effect. It is very well done here. Excellent sound. Music. What can I say? You know, it's amazing, and once again we have a soundtrack that, like Journeys, condenses much of the feeling and the overall tonal aspects and then opens them up as the gameplay continues. You know, during my interview with Austin Wintory, the composer of Abzu, we discussed an idea he had for the title, which was a large harp and human chorus aspect to the game, which lends this airy feeling to the soundtrack, which fits perfectly with the unique worldview here that water is sometimes treated a bit like air, which I'm going to explain a little bit later. I think we jokingly even called it celestial chorus, but ultimately that's just a brief piece of what you get in Abzu. At all times, Austin's really playful use of stringed instruments as you swim alongside a school of dolphins or the heady oboe solos he's placed within the game solidify the time and place for everything that you're experiencing in the title. I mean, there's even moments where you're coming down to this almost pitch black bottom of the ocean and hearing the music fade out perfectly, and it shows a consistently high degree of understanding on how to handle dynamic music where sometimes the arrival of a character to a new location can be met with silence to let the other aspects of the title, like its graphical presentation, take over. Throughout the entire title, it's handled perfectly. However, without a doubt, my favorite part of the game is when Austin goes full orchestra, and these are some of the best prompts and cues I've heard in a game in a damn long time. His understanding of how to write perfectly timed changes in stringed instruments, attack, and bow technique to give this slight flutter and airy emotional vibration to particular moments is fantastic. I mean, it's pretty rare when you think about it. There's just something about schooling with 10,000 fish all traveling to some unknown place while accompanied by a full orchestra bent on seeing you there safely that is just audibly pleasing, if a bit strange. Excellent music. Voice. None, really, so let's move on. Gameplay. You know, I think a game like this sometimes needs a little bit of explanation, so here's a little bit about what Abzu is and feels like. Abzu is like the telling of a myth that you sort of get to live through. There's actions leading to these abstract results that I think have a cohesive enough view that you know it's not done on accident, but sometimes you wonder if that dude from Ancient Aliens just paid you a visit. Without any hesitation whatsoever, I can say that Abzu makes Journey feel concrete and concise and easily explainable, and without a shadow of a doubt, this is the most hands-off title that I think I've ever really come in contact with. Basically, you start out in the water. You're a scuba diver of some kind, and that's about it. Abzu is nothing if it's not abstract in its beginning. Now, within moments, you're learning little bits like how to dive, sonar beep the environment, and how to hang on to animals and seahorse ride your way through environments at their leisure. And that's the game. I mean, I'm really not lying when I say that if someone told me this game was based on someone imagining what that little plastic diver did in people's goldfish bowls when they were gone, I actually wouldn't be surprised. And really, one of the aspects of this is the game is fully and wholly about what you do between start and finish, because for the most part, the world doesn't give a shit that you're even there. There's this sedate mystery that's just waiting. It's one with possibly aliens, evil fishermen of the galaxy that are taking various worlds, animal lives, in some reverse version of that Star Trek The Search for Those Two Damned Whales movie. It's a mystery that, at least for me, drew me in by sheer fact that it seemed like it didn't care if I wanted to be there. I began to wonder what was actually going on in the game, but the game didn't really inform me. I began to scour the areas for places to unleash these spirit underwater animals, not because I got some reward within the game, but because it actually just sort of felt right somehow. Even later, when things become a bit more hectic, I still found myself getting what I put into it and no more. The game never really helps you along with any game moments. It helps you along by offering this mysterious and cohesive world in which to explore and play, and also some of the barest hints in which to lay your little greedy hands on if you can find them. Now, slowly you may begin to piece together the meaning of it all through hieroglyphics spread around the world and little bits laid here and there, but only if you check. Now, if you don't, you're going to be done with the game easily in less than, say, 3 to 4 hours, wondering what all the hubbub's about. Now, that's the same reaction many of today's more esoteric games get anyway, but you'd also be missing out on a great deal of content, something that is also the normal reaction for many of those same style of games. But there certainly isn't anything wrong with playing the game like that. Abzu isn't about a countless swath of collectibles, though. It's not even really about a ton of exploring, as many of the areas are not all that big, which did surprise me. But let's say you do begin to look around. Let's say you begin to locate strange underwater Stonehenges that when you sonar them, you unleash what what's apparently the spirit of those animals, like a futuristic Native American shaman, and you soon find them swimming around you. Maybe you find some of the rare creatures hidden away in some of the nooks and crannies, and maybe you notice the unearthly and mysterious machinations of the strange visitors here on the planet that sort of share the locations with you. Maybe you notice the massively different biomes that each location brings, and the strange way in which the world treats the ocean as if it's two separate layers, normal and hard water, like that G.I. Joe cartoon, Pyramids of Darkness, where there's two different types of water. You see, while endless ocean games, let's say, were about exploration, they were also about the gamified elements of collection. Nothing in this game is like that. In fact, the only thing you really get from this game when you leave it is the fact that you can go to particular meditation spots and basically watch the fishbowl as it lives and breathes without you. No matter how you play it, there's a great chance that you will not know exactly what's going on in Abzu, at least the first time. And that's fine, because not every game needs a map, a HUD, and a cluttered UI filled with map mess to tell you what to do next. So that brings us to fun factor. You know, it's weird. I absolutely loved it, but it certainly wasn't the fun that many would expect from a game. In many ways, Abzu is that friend that you try to talk movies with, and they greet everything you say with, it's cool, I liked it, you didn't, not much else to say. It's both really an acknowledgement of the detached design in which they exist, but also a hint that they're listening to you, even if only to notice the differences in the first place. There's this insane amount of magistry here and an artistic design that is stunning to see and experience, and for me, that was outstanding because I do like these kind of games. Now, that being said, this game's name could be not for everyone, and it still would not be warning enough. I think a lot of people will fret that you can't die, to which I state the way the game works, you walking away from it is the ultimate death, leaving your little scuba diver peep treading water like a loyal dog until you return or inevitably uninstall it. I play all kinds of games, from Arma to Layers of Fear, from Virtual Fighter to Guitar Hero to Fury. I get that gamers are different, and games are too. I know I wouldn't hold it against anyone if they took one look at Abzu and turned around and walked off. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale. For me, this is a buy, but I like experience games. I think for anybody else who isn't a fan of experience games, you should really look at this hard. It is the deepest of experience games. You know how it is where some fighting games are the deepest of fighting games and require the most out of the player to get out of it? And I wouldn't tell anybody to experiment with simulation titles, walking simulators, or now a swimming scuba diver simulator with this game. It just would not, I think, be fair to the gamer. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the review. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Remember, you can check out our Patreon or Reddit. Always feel free to get a hold of me on those two places. And as always, peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.